Yes, we now come to this buffoonery of one fellow called Fapohunda on the question of Nigeria's constitutional future. There is something flying all over the internet now, draft bill for the substitution of 1999 constitution. If it was only Fapohunda that are woken up from the middle of a bad dream to draft a bill that will go to National Assembly and become constitution, we will have ignored him. We already, dismissed the nonsense he had put forward. But he then goes back to media to say that it will be transmitted to Tinubu, the president. And up to date, nobody had denied that, and they even came on the day in question to say it has just been transmitted, it has just been handed. Meaning that we might soon wake up to where there's an executive bill from Tinubu that will go to National Assembly for the making of a new constitution. In February of 2024, we had, I think it was Benjamin Kalu, the one that says he's Deputy Speaker of National Assembly, jumping up to say that the National Assembly will draft and hand over to us a new constitution in 24 months. The reason we're addressing this now is because from how that, that idiocy had been celebrated across the media, the social media, of writing a new constitution to replace the one that was being rejected on account of its origin. The peoples of Nigeria never met, never agreed on anything, never wrote any constitution pursuant to that agreement. And we have a new bunch of ignoramuses that will spring up to say they are going to write another constitution in the processes we have seen. Now they've advertised the finished product. What will be the outcome of their effort? And then look at the map they put forward of the 8 regions that will emerge. And take note of the name on top, Coalition of Ethnic Nationality, Nigerian Ethnic Nationality, CEIN or something, Indigenous Ethnic Nationalities, Coalition of Indigenous Ethnic Nationalities of Nigeria. Compare that came in 2024. Compare that with Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination that had worked for 25 years, day and night, to organize the processes that will bring the owners of Nigeria into discussions that will become constitutional arrangements, and have gone forward to take steps to wind down and wind up the operation of the fraudulent constitution of 1999, and coming all the way to the force majeure declared in December of 2020 to enforce the consensus that have been built by these indigenous nationalities against the conquest invasion of the Fulani that have been reinforced by the alliance of 1967, codifying itself as constitution, the unitary constitution of Nigeria. We are giving you this backdrop to let you know that everything Fapohunda had thrust into the public space was stolen from what Ninas was doing. Whether it is the map he has placed forward or the processes he's been jumping from TV house to TV house to advertise. And so, like every other stolen product, Fapohunda that took materials coming from Ninas to present as his own original thought, Ninas and Pronaco. When the Arise TV crew that knew where the ideas were domiciled began to ask him, in all of what you have said, how will it be done? He says Nigeria has to do exactly what South Africa did in 1990 to exit from apartheid. That singular answer defeats every other thing contained in the proposition that Fapohunda had marketed so far. Why? Because, like Ninas wrote into the constitutional force majeure, we actually said that what Nigeria had to do in 2020, that what Nigeria has to do now is what South Africa did in 1990. What did South Africa do in 1990? South Africa made a formal acknowledgement of the fact that apartheid was the problem that their society had to solve, acknowledging the problem. South Africa committed to solving the problem, that they would decommission the apartheid constitution wholesale, not any form of amendment. South Africa suspended further national elections under the apartheid constitution in order to get down to the business after 80 years of apartheid. South Africa then invited the owners of the sovereignty. There was a parliament in South Africa, but it wasn't that parliament that began to discuss anything about the apartheid constitution that had to be decommissioned. They invited the blacks to come to discuss their sovereignty and their political future in what was known as Codesa, which then produced the Rainbow Constitution by which they went to election in 1994. And so anybody who says Nigeria must do what South Africa did in 1990 is saying that Nigeria must do what Ninas, the 5-point proposition of Ninas, because that was exactly what South Africa did in 1990. I think things will converge somewhere down the road. Everybody can play around with whatever ideas they may wake up with, but there's a plan that has framework that is connected with the people touching the constitution in a bad place, and they're able to drive itself to the destination without with or without government coming up. We already offered them a transition, accommodation. Remain in government house. Let the owners of the land discuss. It's not a demand that cannot be met, but they may choose to do whatever they choose to do. Starting with the map, take a close look at the 8th region structure. Not talking about where it came from. If you want to know whether he had been in contact with us in the past or not, look at this clip.
It was Dr. Olisa Agbakoba. He said the sub-nationality were the ones who had the political discussion on the arrangement Nigeria made prior to independence. He noted that the discussion made then gave birth to the 1960 and 1963 constitutions, adding that before deciding on a type of constitution for our country, we must identify those willing to be part of the country called Nigeria, because without that, we cannot have a constitution, especially when there are no clear conceptual agreements between one group and the other. Dr. Olisa Agbakoba said, in his view, Nigeria is a failed state because decision-making revolves around the Federal Capital Territory. He cited the federal allocation policy to buttress his point.
Before we discuss what type of constitution, we must identify those who will be part of Nigeria. We can't go to have a constitution when it is not clear what the conceptual arrangements will be between one group and the other. Having said that, my own view is that Nigeria is a failed state. So the creative energy of Nigeria is trapped in this pyramid where somebody at the top, called the president, decides everything. So the energy to revamp this process is what BOR is about. We need to have creative energy. I feel, with due respect,
You can see the one speaking there. You can see Sonny Kuku. You can see Olisa Agbakoba standing. The man in white native dress and white cap is Akin Fapohunda. The venue was Institute of International Affairs in Victoria Land. The date, June 28, 2018. We have been invited to share with the Voice of Reason, the organization to which Akin Fapohunda belongs, what our propositions were for Nigeria's disputed constitutional arrangement. And it was in the preparation for that event that we transmitted all these documents, the ones that came from Pronaco and the ones that came subsequently. You know, he was their secretary. And so, from that time, he had been plagiarizing the contents that were shared with him in confidence, and him and his organization, when we thought we were advancing, we were pursuing the same cause. That's the first thing. Because you now come to what's the summary of what he's proposing. We are rejecting a constitution that was imposed by decree. Fapohunda that doesn't know his left from his right in the jurisprudence of he says he's not a lawyer. So how is he now the one to lead the process of something as a technical, as a delicate as constitution, if not for lunacy, some level of lunacy? Both himself and those who are relying on him, who are taking the document from him and thinking, are you going to build a house from the roof? Where's the Nigeria they are writing constitution for? In the face of the constitution of 99 that have been defeated, that's a fraud. So where's the Nigeria that we are writing constitution for? Is it rocket science to arrange your thoughts to realize that what needs to be done, again going back to the preamble to that 1999 constitution that lied that we the people, that's the owners of Nigeria, has solemnly resolved to be in union forever, and therefore making the constitution in question for themselves? That's the issue that has to be resolved now. And you leave all of that and you start by writing another constitution, writing something that will be the product that will become constitution. Have you got them? Have they discussed? Have they agreed? Why should it not be them deciding the formations in which they live? Take a look at that map now, and you are going to see the map that came from Pronaco in 2006, after 2 years of very serious deliberations involving 164 ethnic delegations that sat in Lagos, sat in Port Harcourt, sat in Enugu, sat in Jos, sat in Kano, coming to conclude in Lagos with the U.S. Sentinel Observer Mission, European Union Sentinel Observer Mission, and all the armed groups in Nigeria at the time, those who were angry enough to carry arms against Nigeria, whether it was in the Niger Delta where Sari Dokuba and his Niger Delta Volunteer Force, or Gani Adams and his OPC in the western region, western Nigeria, or Wazirike's Masop. We persuaded them, Pronaco persuaded them at the time to put their guns aside, put their flags down, let there be a meeting of the owners of Nigeria to begin to rework what the British imposed on them, what the soldiers in 1999 compounded against them. And they came, and we had an outcome. It is that outcome that that was stolen and bastardized into what Fapohunda is parading all over the place. But you are going to see the difference. Look at that map again, the map of the 8 regions. You will see that each of those 8 regions is proposed 8 regions is made up of a group of states. When you take a closer look, you see Imo and Abia here. You see Ogun and Osun in the one of you see Adamawa. You see states. Back to Emeka Anyoko's proposition of taking delegates 5 per state from the states that are a product of that constitution we are rejecting. So there's something linking something somewhere, and Tinubu's name has been put at the center of it. When you look at all of them, what interests do they represent? Where are they going with all of this in the midst of the discussions that are going on? And so if you compare the states that they are trying to preserve in the 8 regions they are trying to propose, you now see the Pronaco draft. You will see that it is the ethnic nationalities so properly identified by themselves. We didn't we went round. There's no nationality that was not visited in the ancestral space in course of the preparation for Pronaco. Ijo was visited in Ijo land. Tiv was visited in Tiv land. Igbo was visited in Igbo land. Yoruba was visited in Yoruba land. Even the Fulani, Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came to Pronaco. Let those who know where he lives in Katsina go and ask him. Syed Abubakar, the Sultan in Sokoto now, was part of the Fulani delegation that came. So it was something that involved the entire country. Enohoro was convener-in-chief. Shoyinka helped in bringing out some of the energy, all of those who had to come to participate. Ojukwu hosted in Enugu. All of those who were on the 2 sides of the war, the war of 1967 to 1970, were involved in all the processes that produced the draft of what would be acceptable to everyone. And it was their own decision. Ijo was discussing with Ogoni, Yoruba was discussing with Tif, and all of that. It was their collective decision that became the resolutions that emerged. And I'm going to show you, because I have it right here, the resolutions that emerged from their deliberations. Here, this is the back of it. After 2 years of discussing every subject, starting with whether they wanted to continue as one political union, because the union of 1914 was not their decision. Most people said, yes, we would like to continue, but on so condition. They all had their charters before they even came to the conference at all. So it was this 29-point resolution, the resolutions from that PRONACO, that was instruction material to the Constitution Drafting Committee, where the secretaryship fell on me. The chairmanship fell on Professor Jadesola Akande, the former vice chancellor of Lagos State University. The vice chairman behind Jadesola Akande was Solomon Asemota, Chief Solomon Asemota, the senior advocate in Benin. He's still alive. With myself as secretary, Oluwawotesu, two-time minister in Shagaris cabinet, lawyer. 9 of us were charged with the responsibility of converting this, the product of the 2 years discussion of the peoples of Nigeria, into a draft. That is where constitution drafting, you can see we had identified the owners of Nigeria. This is the booklet. This is the draft that came from, those 2 years of. So we identified the owners of the land. You could see Yoruba land here. All of what you see here are the nationalities sitting in their ancestral spaces, discussing how they will be union. Olisa Abakoba was one of the 9 in that committee to draft, but he had election. He was trying to become chairman of Nigerian Bar Association. As secretary of the committee, we had to excuse him to go to run his election, and so his name remained because he was part of the process up to that point. Since he had to go up to do something, we said, okay, your name will remain here. So there's no telling of the story of this draft that will not involve Olisa Abakoba's name as one of those who participated to the point of being nominated into the Constitution Drafting Committee of that PRONACO. The Wale Okuniyi that had been banding around with Emeka Anyoko and Co. in the Patriot was the media coordinator in that initiative. So they all took away one thing or the other at one point or the other, but each time they would go and contest the election, they would go and look for some urgent political benefit to make, to say it's not possible to change constitution other than by what they are trying to do. And so the reason we have to go back to all of this is to let you know that you cannot build a house from the roof. That was why we dismissed this as buffoonery. And the only reason we're addressing it all over again now is that he subsequently brought Tinubu's, say he's going to submit it to Tinubu, and Tinubu received it. That's what we read in the media. We didn't see the pictures of it, but that's what he's been to all the TV houses, trying to convert, to market what he said was his original thinking. There was no original thinking there. The only thing he had been bastardized, the important thing that had been done, and his man. People are thinking that they are trying to put people back to sleep. Nobody is doing anything that will become regional autonomy for anybody in what Fapohunda and his Tinubu sponsor is doing. They are only trying to create the impression in the minds of people who are demanding a return to regional autonomy. They are trying to create the impression that government is doing something. Constitution making is not the business of government. It's not the business of National Assembly. So if Fapohunda and Tinubu are still thinking of taking what they've concocted to National Assembly, to talking into constitution for them, Ninas will not touch any of all those things. We know there's deceit going on. If anybody wants to solve the problem that has arisen in Nigeria in terms of the constitution that is disputed, the first order of business is to go to transition now and invite the owners of the sovereignty into a process that will become fresh constitutional arrangements. If anybody is still daft, if anybody is still ignorant enough to think that it is by going to call eminent people to write one document and take it to National Assembly, they are just going to be, they are wasting their time. And we're not going to waste any time with them. We're going to allow them to continue in their journey to nowhere while we organize the owners of the sovereignties in the formations of their choice. Take another look at that map. Look at the 8 proposed regions. The first thing that jumps out there is that the dot in circle remains the dot in circle. All the other 7 proposed regions have international boundaries and access to international waters. Some of them. Look at the Yoruba side. Plenty coastline, plenty international border. Look at the one next. Look at the one next. Go around all the way to the Maiduguri side. Come back to Akwa-Ibom and Cross River. International border, international access to the sea. But that dot in circle in the imagination of the lunatic called Fapohunda must remain the way it is, so that they can build their Nigeria. They are selling gas to Europe without talking to the owners of the gas. They are planning all kinds of things, thinking that they are going to build the Nigeria they erected on the blood of the innocent to becoming. We just say all of what we are saying to call our attention to the fact that a deceit is going on. The pretense is that there's a discussion that will solve this problem already going on. There's no discussion that can solve this problem that is going on. What we suspect, and if it is not so, they must now come out and engage in this discussion, not in illicit corners. Ninas challenges them. What Tinubu is trying to do is to use this demand that is very popular for return to autonomy to push back the caliphate. You see the flurry of meetings already happening, Atiku going to Katsina, El-Rufai coming to join at night, and all such nonsense. The interregnum presidency is using this Fapohunda's, I don't even know how to describe the stupidity of it all, to push back whatever the caliphate is doing. We suspect that the whole intention is to have him stay 8 years. We saw when Wike was boasting that there's nobody that can remove them. They want to use it, put you to sleep, pretend they're doing something, then the day to come, another election will be conducted. For people who jumped in through who snatched and ran away with the mandate, they are now going to conduct an election for you in 2027, and then you will come and win them. You must be a fool to think so. You must be a compound fool to think so. And this goes straight to the P2B that dragged us to that election in 2023. At a time we should have been doing transition. He is going again now, looking for who to gather to say he's going to do election in 2027. I'm sorry for all of you, because like we told you before the 2023 election, that the winner of 2023 election will not find any Nigeria to govern. Go to YouTube. Click winner of 2023 elections will not find any Nigeria to govern. Watch it and watch what is going on in Nigeria now. And so there is no intention. It is just to buy time, push back the caliphate. That's our reading of the situation. If it is not so, let them come. Let us discuss it. The Nigeria they are discussing is a conscription of our lands and our sovereignties. Therefore, they cannot be discussing it in Abuja, where they are sharing the blood of the people they claim to represent, the people they claim to be governing. Look at the kind of poverty that is tearing people down all over the place. And all they can be talking about is how to buy new presidential jet. And then Akpabio had the courage to tell them that they don't matter, that the president is more important than them, that the life of the president is more important. Which other country of the world Could a public official say such a thing? At a time people can't find money to feed, you are talking about buying an additional jet for a president that already has a fleet of 11 jets. And people say, why? You say you don't matter. The president, his life is more important than yours. All of these things will be accounted for down the road. We don't know how, we don't know when. But we know it will come to be that people who are so reckless are going to be made to explain, either it may be to a mob, it may not be to Tony Nadi, it may not be to Dinas, it may be to a mob that they will be explaining. And we know how patient the mob can be. And so let us have it in mind. Let us know for certain that there's no process that can become the replacement for 1999 that is dead. The union anchored on 99 is already gone. Those whose lands and sovereignties are consecrated into that union are already working out their salvation. Don't make any mistake about that. And if you're on a construction site and 75% of the people in that construction site are working to pull down the nonsense you are building, in the land is disputed, everything is disputed. I am one of those 75% that will not allow the construction of Nigeria any further on the foundation of the unitary constitution imposed by brigandage since 1967. So let know that you can change your anthem a million times. Can you see the stupidity of it? We took a position about on that anthem of Arise, O compatriot. We raised fundamental questions. Which compatriot? Am I compatriot with those who owe a duty of faith to kill me as infidel? Am I compatriot with those who say that all men are not born equal, therefore they are born to rule me? I'm not compatriot with them. So they abandon that constitution and say, oh, their native fatherland. You saw in the what do they call the one that's gone viral on the one that's on the internet, where the British were the ones singing their motherland or fatherland. I can't remember the one and so today, where is the Fulani portion of that their native? Is Fulani native enough to join you in singing? They make you, I don't know if you only need to, you need to look closer to see who is driving this. So change of anthem will not take us anywhere. Akin Fapohunda, that brings his own, you wake up from a bad dream and begin to write constitution for 220 million people. I think the Yaba psychiatric facility should be expanded to begin to take in some of these lunatics that are going all over the place causing confusion. Stop there.